Behind the hustle and bustle of everyday life in Kenya, a battle is being fought. Not just against a killer virus, but also against the lack of understanding that leads to stigmatism and being socially outcast. This is a story about a young man who sank into a world of sex, drink, and drugs.
I was waiting for my son to die. I was waiting for myself to die.
Because this is the time you went deep into drinking.
I've given my children a death sentence, and then also my wife.
He was very guilty, fairly.
This is also a story of a man who, against all odds, managed to turn his life around, supporting his family and becoming a pillar in his local community.
I decided to change my behavior. It was November 1987 when I started working in Nairobi.
Josephat Mwirigi started working life as a young man in a society ignorant of an impending world pandemic. His lifestyle was like any young man stepping out into the world from school.
I remember having a friend with Kenya Air, whom I got to Nairobi, and he was the one who was taking me around Nairobi and showing me every corner of Nairobi means to do what Nairobians do and what young men do, to discuss, to get girlfriends there, and then I started dating them and having sex with them.
Josephat lived a bachelor's life in Nairobi for 3 years before he fell in love with Esther Kathambi. Their love affair began as rumors of a killer virus was spreading throughout Africa. The virus would affect millions of lives, including that of Josephat and Esther. Josephat grew up on his father's tea farm in the lush northern highland of Kenya's Meru district. Family life with his 5 sisters was a happy one. Despite a good primary education, towards the end of his secondary schooling, Josephat became distracted.
When he went to secondary, towards the end of the year, his characters started changing, in that he could start smoking here and there, taking a little beer here and there, and somehow it affected his performance in the 4th year.
I didn't get an admission to Form 5. So it seemed like everybody saw me like a failure.
Soon after Josephat met Esther, he was transferred to a new job in a hospital in northern Kenya. Esther went with him.
When we went to Isiolo, just for 4 months, she was pregnant, and then she gave birth to my first son.
Urakuri ndawaibeje naja na imenyere mami na itorole wejere endelea kwajua au niondonere nyanjo sibati ya garuki ndone kwina kugaruka okunene.
Unbeknown to either of them, Esther was already ill. Their son Anthony was born in April, but within 1 month of the birth, Esther was dead.
Ukamenyera ke ukairio ukamenyera ora ndamenyaira bakwa tiga ora ntonkagia yake.
When I was going through the records, because I was working in Isiolo in the medical records department, I had seen the name of my first wife in the confidential report which was submitted to the Ministry of Health, indicated that she died of the HIV virus, but I didn't want to accept.
The level of knowledge in this country in the 80s, I would say, I think the correct position would be it did not exist. And if it did, it was minimal levels. It was a disease that was very, very new that people didn't have information on. And for practical purposes, people didn't even know that it existed in the 80s.
Because of his early lifestyle in Nairobi, Josephat kept repeating a question about himself.
Maybe even I could have given the virus, because when I was in Nairobi, I did sex with multiple partners.
HIV was viewed in a very negative way. It was showed in the way that it scared people. It was looked at that HIV was really a deadly disease. Even in the billboards, you would find a very thin person. A person who was depicted as having HIV was looked at as a very bad person, a person either who was a prostitute, a person who had multiple sexual partners. And this kind of information getting to the community really scared the communities.
Nobody even wanted to touch somebody with HIV, because it was something unknown.
Josephat now had to face life without the mother to his son. He was also hiding the suspicion that Esther had died of an HIV virus. He responded to the news with complete denial.
So I was waiting for my son to die. I was waiting for myself to die. So I concentrated on taking hand drugs and then taking beer, taking miraa, so that I'll forget everything. I waited for 1 month and didn't die. My son didn't die. I waited for 2 months and then for a year, and then I decided to say, okay, no, now I'm not HIV. People are talking of HIV. Even my first wife didn't die of HIV. It was rumors, and then I stayed like that and didn't want even to hear about it.
Without obvious symptoms, Josephat was convinced he had escaped infection.
I started figuring out, what next? What should I do next? Will I stay alone? Will I not marry again? How will I stay with a son without a mother? Then I started trying to date again.
Josephat eventually met Zipporah, where he worked, but she had no idea just how much he would affect her life.
It was in 1992 when I get road accident and I was admitted at Isiolo Hospital where he was working.
I was to go and be checking on her because I was working in the same hospital. So during the visits and going to check on her, that's the time we developed the relationship.
I feel we can share and make a family because already he have a child and also I have a child.
They married 2 years later, but Josephat still couldn't face the fact that he may be HIV positive, and Zipporah was unaware of any potential danger of infection from her new husband.
There were no indications that I was HIV because I was living my life normally. I was working in Isiolo. I was the carpenter there. I was doing my daily work normally.
And we stayed for 3 good years without a baby until 1996 when we have Joy.
As Joy reached her 9th year, it became clear her health was weak. A fear grew in Josaphat's thoughts. Then he started to notice a change in his own health.
When Joy was sick, I didn't give a thought that she is positive. Only that inside me, I am something that maybe she might be HIV positive. And during that 2000 December, that's the time I got the herpes zoster. Herpes zoster is an opportunistic or infection.
Kinyare yantaiji jua aina yu, lakini wewe ngwana mbele we mkono kanaja kuri ndo kuona ndo makulandera muri mujura na mbele to tuigedie majani.
Josaphat's health deteriorated. Finally, he was admitted to Chigoria Hospital with pneumonia and suspected tuberculosis.
When the doctor was examining me through the body, she saw the marks where I had the herpes zoster. And then she asked me what was wrong. And then I explained to her. And after that, she asked me if I could be testing the HIV test. And I accepted.
After 13 years of denial, Josaphat would now have to tell his family his deadly secret.
When he gets the lab test detects that he has the virus.
I was hopeless. Although prior to that, I was not sure if I'm 100%. But to know and to get even the results.
His worst nightmare now realized. Josaphat had to face the truth. He also had to face the rest of his family.
Tongarenda ndamenyangi eze na yu nindi ndazwani de mwana kinyawata ekaja kwa ngina na yu eze na yu ibate na yu na na ebe
Iro ndaigerwe ndaringika nontu naenda na bakuthira bonde ututi.
I feel bad.
As Spora was crying and I was telling her to get it tested, she was telling me now that you are HIV. It is obvious that also I am HIV. We will all die. But there is no need of knowing my status for her to know her status, because even we cannot afford the drugs from Wirigi for myself.
Zipporah's decision not to test for HIV meant her treatment would be deferred. This meant that the family's limited funds could be dedicated to saving Josaphat's life. Her thoughts were now with her daughter Joy. Could this be the reason for all Joy's childhood illnesses?
We take another steps to know the status of the child.
Joy tested positive for the HIV virus.
I had no words to say, and felt that I'm I was hopeless. Even I was angry at myself.
He was very guilty, very.
From the beginning, I saw as the one who brought this disease to my family.
It was a very hard time for us in this family.
Firstborn Anthony tested negative. Somehow he had escaped the virus. Despite this good news, Josaphat's guilt at infecting Zipporah and Joy sank him to a new low. The doctors at the hospital gave Josephat hope.
The doctors, they had told me there are some drugs which I could take to prolong my life. And the drugs were expensive, but they had come recently.
Josephat had been in denial for 13 years. Now that he knew his status, he was going to need the support of his family, starting with his wife, Zipporah.
I couldn't do anything but to be humble, to wait for the outcome, her reaction. But I thank God because she supported me.
Oteithio bunde tome indawa ira chiaeja nao tukabagurira ngeta family iu ikeja bakeja tukola mbeca tukagura ndawa
Tuiguo mpere bone atia nkathithia na ntiumba ungi ndauga mbende tukaria uu turijanaire na tunyunyanaire tukare tukenete aki ntuku ekinya uria ugetete.
Josephat's denial was fed by his fear of the stigma of HIV. Stigmatism, plus the lack of understanding that contracting HIV today is no longer the death sentence it used to be, fuels this fear. It prevents people from taking the simplest test to learn their HIV status and plays a very big part in the continued spread of the pandemic.
When I was discharged at Chogoria Hospital, and then I was being brought back home, my dad didn't want me to pass through the market, so the vehicle which was carrying me came through the back route.
You know, as a family, we were trying to hide it.
HIV and AIDS were regarded as a disease of prostitutes, truck drivers, and immoral people.
And even for me, I was feeling now, how do I share with the others? Like those whom I was telling that I'm going to see my brother in hospital. I was like, how do I tell my friends that my brother is positive?
And if I die now that people are stigmatizing me, they are discriminating me, what about my children? Then I decided, no, I'll fight for my children. Because nobody will realize that they are innocent.
Education within the community to reduce stigma, raising awareness to encourage a safer lifestyle, together with easy and confidential status testing, are vitally important steps to winning the battle to reduce HIV infection. For those infected, contending with the difficulties of the condition through counseling and regular medication, combined with a healthier lifestyle, can help prolong life. Testing to know his status was the turning point in Josephat's life.
From the time now, I realized that I am HIV positive, and that's now for real. It is not rumors, it is not that I am thinking I'm positive. It is that I'm positive, and I have children, and I have a wife, and that I have my own life to live. And now I have this disease, what will I do? And now the doctors are telling me there are these drugs, they can prolong my life. And then if I talk with them, can I stay for maybe 2 years? Can I stay for 1 year? And they told me I can live with it as long as even 20 years. So, wow. Then I decided to change my behavior.
The antiretroviral medications, or ARVs as they are known, are the collection of drugs that combat the effects of the virus. In 2003, this medication was very expensive. A month's treatment cost more than the average monthly salary, and Josephat was too weak to work. For his family, it was yet another harsh reality.
With time, his energy came back when he started taking the drugs. And then he actually became very responsible now about his family. He could be counted as somebody who is the head of the family.
But later when he came and told me, after he left hospital, he came out and told me, now I'm okay, I'll go public and tell people. At first I didn't feel I'm comfortable with it. But when he accepted, he himself and the family accepted, and then later I saw them coming up, that's when I saw some change in them. They were very weak. But after that accepting, they started now changing. You can see they are happy, they are a bit happy. I also started accepting.
I would say discovering that one is HIV positive is a process. But once you've reached the point where you're actually acknowledging that I am a person living with HIV or I am living with the HIV virus, then you have to make certain choices. You have the person who picks that up and actually decides this virus is not going to kill me, that I can be stronger than this virus, and that I'm going to do everything possible to ensure that I can live as long as I can. And this is the individual who then taps on their inner strength. This is the individual you're going to actually find that they even become a better person than they were before they knew their status.
Josephat set out to build on the strength of his family. His son Anthony and Zipporah's daughter Beth were lucky enough not to have the virus. Their daughter Joy would need the love and security of a happy family.
She's a kind of a girl who will make you laugh even when you don't want to laugh.
You'll never hear the house quiet. Even if you are annoyed, when you are with Joy, you just start laughing because she keep on cracking jokes and making the house cheerful.
She's a person who is very outgoing and very joyous, in fact, very happy. I like being around her.
Joy will have a positive living attitude nowadays because he is knowing each and everything, fact about HIV and things. She is now a bit empowered.
I love them because they did not hide from me about their status, and they told me how I am and which category I am, and they help me most when I am them. They help me, and we share together.
Entonces, hombre, te enjoy, and that the mono, Nakinya, then that enjoy, mono, one by the weather of body.
We stayed together, a happy family.
Josephat was able to turn his experience into helping his family and his local community.
It was a supporting group for campaigning against HIV, and they incorporated me to be a trainer.
This also gave him valuable financial income to help pay for all of their medications.
I've enjoyed working with the Save the Children because I've seen good results. The work I do of mobilizing and training the caregivers, training the peers on HIV management, on stigma reduction, and also doing the mobile outreaches, doing the VCTs.
He's instrumental in the work that we've done at community level. As a COP, he's a trained community health resource person. He gets to go to churches and talk to people about HIV, talk to people about prevention. He's been able to bring in other men who are able to work with him. At his age, he's even considered by young people as a role model, so that young youth groups actually do invite him to come and share with them.
Zipporah too found empowerment in helping others. She became a VCT counsellor, helping to provide valuable mobile voluntary counselling and testing clinics within their local community.
And whenever Save the Children is undertaking its mobile community outreaches with the VCT services, Zipporah and other VCT counsellors who have been trained attend to the community's needs of testing and counseling.
I teach people how to fight stigma and discrimination, how to take ARVs, and about nutrition, how to live positively.
But for her, she was very courageous. And even up to today, holding the family together, the way I see her holding that family, I can describe her as the most courageous woman I've seen facing this, the sickness.
Kwajua kuko ni mbuga inya te mbayua mbona jakiama baringero ngurungu.
Na bonde na ndio tuo te choka ira magita yo yo na kura ni na ta to tura. Na itu da to karibu ga buru o te de na kinya bo to na ya ka ba ye te tongora tu ya ke iba ye tu.
It's something which has given me even that a different view of HIV. Because now the way I was seeing others, I was seeing as they have done something so evil. That's why they are like this and like this. But from them now, I'm learning something else. That anybody can be affected, anybody can be infected. You have to accept the people the way they are and you live with them. So I don't see now as if they are sick. In fact, I accept them the way they are and we move on. Some blessing in disguise. Yeah.
And to live normally, because I'm hoping as we go on, drugs will come to cure HIV, to enjoy, live a normal life.
He tells me about living with the dragon that you have. There are many who have survived with it, and he's not the only one who has it.
She knows the importance of ARVs, and I think now she is a bit strong. She have everything. Even now, she'll live longer.
Encouraged by her parents' work, Joy has bravely reached out to fellow students to establish a support group for HIV-positive kids at her high school.
I am the age I am. I love how I stay, and I am proud of whom I am. Yeah.
If other people are living positively and they are living for long, why not me? Me, I'm not going to die again. I'm there for my children, I'm there for my wife, also for the community to be able to teach them. They have supported me this far. Now I will be there for them.
According to my future, I feel as I will go until about 70 years because I know how to live. I was empowered with Save the Children in Canada how to live positively, and I take care of myself, and I think God will help me to live longer.
I've got work to do. That makes me to wake up very early in the morning and go and do that work, and I'm happy about it.
In his darkest moment of denial and despair, Josephat found the courage to rebuild his life. Determined not to leave his children orphaned, he leaned on his family's strength, overcame his fear of the stigma, and moreover, found a place in his community to help in the fight against HIV and AIDS.